Hello and welcome, I am Zabraxi, and I am here to ask a question and try to answer it. Did flying kill world PvP? Let's take a look. For the sake of this video, I want to only focus on the negative side of world PvP. I want to focus on the things that have actively diminished it, or ruined it, or killed it. There's other variables that could come into play that have maybe incentivized world PvP over across the years in the game, and we are going to touch on maybe one or two of those things, but for the most part, I want to talk about world PvP and all the things that have hurt it. The argument is made that world PvP was killed during the Burning Crusade specifically, and flying was the cause of it. Let's take a look. We're going to start back from the beginning, and we're going to go all the way up until the Burning Crusade and see what happened, and holy cow is it hot in this room. It is scorching, and I'm going to try to do my best to stay on point. So I'll fix that a little bit. That was a little odd. It was a little off. So let's go all the way back to vanilla. At the start of vanilla, world PvP was kind of nonsense. It was just all over the place, and it was a cool, really cool thing. And you got these neat events like Southshore versus Tarren Mill, and this was then amplified by the honor system. The honor system now rewarded you for killing players. It wasn't just something that you could do for the sake of gameplay. You were now incentivized to kill on sight. You were now incentivized to kill anybody who you didn't like of the opposite faction, and you were to get them, gut them, and move on. And then Instance Battlegrounds came in and pretty much wiped world PvP off the face of the map. Yeah, it's really that easy. The reality is, Battlegrounds provided more variety of gameplay. It required very little effort to get in, and you didn't have to run across the world or stumble upon people or worried about getting ganked in a time that you weren't interested in PvPing. Instead, you now had this instant place that you could go and enjoy this game system and not be bothered by anything else around it. Because everybody in this battleground was now trying and were interested in PvP specifically, they were trying harder, they were way more into it, and they were able to provide you a better gameplay experience, and you were able to provide them the same. Take that and further the fact that honor now exists in the game and that there are genuine player power rewards, and you now have a place and a system where you're incentivized to do a lot of PvP stuff, which makes instant battlegrounds the way to go. Being in an instanced area allows you to know that there's going to be a constant state of action, and avoiding that constant state of action isn't going to benefit you at all. So why would you go around in the world and hopefully find some people and maybe not find anyone for a little while? Why would you do that when you could just pick Warsong Gulch and beat up everybody constantly? I mean, the alternative is you camp flight paths in Thorium Point, but where's the gameplay in that? Honestly, if we're being real with ourselves here, as of patch 1.7, world PvP was on a pretty big decline already. The only places it really existed were Blackrock Mountain and maybe outside Zul'Gurub? Maybe? There was actually an attempt to increase world PvP with the Eastern Plaguelands world PvP areas, these landmarks, because world PvP was already going so low, it was already so diminished, that many things outside ganking or 1v1s and 1v2s didn't really happen anymore. If I'm remembering correctly, trying to remove some of the nostalgia from my mind, I played on a PvP server in vanilla, and around the Cthulhu era, world PvP didn't happen that much. It was dead most of the time. In essence, by 1.7, world PvP was practically over, and by 1.12, and now all of the battlegrounds being in the game and all of these incentives to use instance battlegrounds, world PvP was really low on the player board. It was really low in the world, and it just didn't happen nearly as often as we like to remember. It didn't happen much at all. It did happen, and it did occur, and there were isolated events that would happen. There was enough to where people were inconvenienced. So let's hit the Burning Crusade. Burning Crusade is when arguably flying killed world PvP. World PvP officially died. The reality, though, is that world PvP was more maimed by TBC, and to blame flying entirely is a bit disingenuous. We need to look at a couple more things that had happened in the Burning Crusade that really had a much larger effect on world PvP, arguably way larger than what flying ever did. Let's talk about the big one, arenas. If you think instanced battlegrounds destroyed a lot of world PvP, arenas completely ate world PvP alive. This was it. The arena, the blood sport, the champion, the Coliseum, everything about it took what people didn't like in Battlegrounds and what people didn't like in World PvP and isolated it into a highly competitive, highly rewarded, highly influential game mode. One that would show prestige, that would provide you titles, that would provide you mounts, that would provide you unique item skins. One that would show the world how powerful and how awesome you were in the arena. On top of this, you had the arena point system, which provided you new upgrades, and player power was equivalent to sometimes raiding from arenas. I actually remember doing arenas pretty regularly during my time, enough to get enough wins and enough points in order to get some off pieces that were genuinely better than some raid gear. Season 3 bracers, for example, for my Warlock. Season 3 bracers are pretty much better than like a lot of what I could get until tier 6, even into tier 6 and further. It was really good. Even the boots and some of the other pieces. Arena provided a really consolidated area and a highly efficient way of getting honor and a highly efficient way of getting arena points, and Battlegrounds had now evolved another step by introducing another new battleground with another new type of game mode, being the Eye of the Storm. I know a lot of people don't like the Eye of the Storm, but you have to remember that even though you don't like this game mode, there are a lot of people who do really like it, and a lot of people who do really enjoy such a chaotic and kind of like round-robin style of gameplay, and a lot of the trolling that you can do, like mind controlling people off cliffs. This stuff was fun for a lot of people, and you've now created another reason, another new game mode to explore in an instanced setting, while also then allowing for the arena system to take place. One that was easily the most efficient way to grind PvP prestige. If I'm being honest, arena is significantly larger of an impact than flying ever was, really. A lot of people really like to blame flying, but World PvP happened in the Burning Crusade. Like, way more than people seem to remember. Blizzard took their approach on creating these World PvP zones and these World PvP areas from the Eastern Plaguelands. They took that idea and took it a step further in Outland. You had new places now, things like in Hellfire Peninsula, Zangarmarsh, Terakar Forest, and even Nagrand. You had all of these zones and all of these points where you were able to either take them or compete around them in order to provide not just honor, but also to provide a benefit to those of your faction in that zone, whether it be increased player power or increased XP rates, etc. There was a lot of benefit to going through these, at least for everybody around you, and because there was a benefit, and enough of a benefit, there was pretty regularly some World PvP around these objectives. It wasn't great, but it was enough to where it was definitely happening, to where I remember going after them and just trying to do it to help people in my zone and regularly meeting some resistance. This did mean that places like Netherstorm or Shadowmoon or Blade's Edge may not have as much World PvP in them because a lot of the objectives were based in the other zones, except for the daily quests. You see, Netherstorm is the only real zone that dodged a lot of the World PvP stuff, and even then, there was a really good way to farm Primal Manas there, so still a lot of good World PvP happening in there. But the places that I remember specifically are the Orgrimmar dailies and the Shatari Skyguard. Holy cow. These zones were insanely packed. Because of the nature of the Burning Crusade, daily quests became incredibly valuable. The gold yield from them, the efficiency of them, and the limited value of them, and the fact that both factions would be consolidated and smacked into this one zone, in this one very isolated area, meant that a whole ton of people would be in one spot competing for resources. To claim that World PvP died in these zones is really disingenuous. It was chaos. And chaos it stayed for a long time. Imagine that you need just one more guy in order to finish up the last set of your Orgrimmar dailies. If you see that mage about to kill the one that you need, and he's already at half health, you're gonna backstab him. You're gonna do it, man, and it was satisfying. Here's the reality. If you were to take that and then separate it from Shatari Skyguard and Orgrimmar, you could also then take this to the Netherwing area. The Netherwing ledge, for example, was something that only Prestige could allow you to really enjoy. You needed to have the epic flying mount, and being there, you had a semi-limited ability to grind for this Netherwing Drake. The Netherwing Drake, to put at the time, is one of the most prestigious mounts that was out contextually to like when the game was ever out, next to maybe the Ashes of Alar or the Ravenlord. But seeing someone on a Netherwing Drake was an eye stopper. It was a showstopper. Everyone looked to see the guy on the Netherwing Drake fly by. So getting to the Netherwing ledge meant you were going to compete for every bit of resources you could there, and some of them were the eggs. And the eggs, You had to farm for a long time, because getting exalted with Netherwing was a long time. So naturally, you're gonna try to kill some people to get some more eggs, because getting a couple extra eggs might mean a day of not having to rep grind again. So yeah, it was worth it. The point I'm trying to make here is that the Burning Crusade in general didn't kill world PvP as aggressively as some people might think. At least PvE side of it didn't. Arenas had a pretty large impact, but flying, the whole process of being able to just up and soar through the air and skip the world, did that stop world PvP? This is a pretty common belief and a pretty strong belief. Even people influential in the community, like Kungen, have claimed such a thing.
Then flying mounts came, suck dick, WoW community dead. It died instantly because flying mounts are horrible for an MMO. The second flying mounts exist in a game, all you do is fly from point B, from point A to point B to point C. You never see any players. You just fly in the sky and you do shit. So the community thing is gone. World PvP died.
What really happened with flying is that it was the final straw in order to kill those random 1v1 encounters in the world. Now, if you were ganked by somebody while you were fighting a mob, when you'd respawn, you'd get up and leave in a flying mount instead of being ganked again because you can't go anywhere because you're stuck on the ground. What this really did to kill world PvP was allow people to get out. That's it. Now, for some of you may be arguing, well, that's the problem. People got out. But those people probably didn't want to engage in it anyway. And they were on a PvP server because, well, maybe they just were stuck there because they already committed so much time. Or maybe they do want to be in world PvP at times, but that moment isn't that moment. It didn't really kill world PvP, but it reduced it further. It mitigated the effects of it again. And sure, you could argue that that destroyed it. I would argue it was still alive. It still had a bit to go before dying, but that was it. World PvP in the Burning Crusade changed to be more isolated. It changed to be going into the world PvP objectives. It changed going into the daily hubs. It changed in that manner, but it didn't die. I remember it very, very vividly. It didn't die. To answer the final question, did flying kill world PvP? No. It reduced ganking, it reduced a lot of those 1v1 awkward encounters, but the daily quest design and a lot of the other designs of TBC forced world PvP to happen in these smaller isolated areas, but that's it. It didn't kill it. I would argue there are far greater problems that killed world PvP. The arena system, as I mentioned earlier, the LFD system down in Wrath of the Lich King, sharding, which came a bit later, but allowed you to basically never see people of the opposite faction or even of your own faction, sometimes for hours at a time. Player behavior also changed pretty rapidly. A lot of people decided to engage in their PvP experiences in instanced areas instead of the less efficient, more chaotic open world. Also, server imbalance created a lot of problems here. Allowing faction changes and allowing server changes allowed people to basically make Mal'Ganis into a 99.9% horde server, and things like that meant that you're not going to see world PvP because there's no one on the other faction to kill. So no, flying didn't kill world PvP. It didn't help it, but to claim it killed it is very, very disingenuous. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Did you think flying actually killed world PvP? Do you think I'm wrong, and do you want to make some arguments against me? Feel free to in the comments down below. I'd love to have a conversation about this. This is just my perspective, and I would love to hear yours. So please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down there. Hit the thumbs up button if you want to see more and you liked the video. That would be awesome. Also, if you want to watch some more general gaming content, you can follow me on my other channel, where I do actual full reviews and game design discussions on gaming that isn't MMOs or isn't World of Warcraft. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one, and I'm look forward to see you to talking to you in the comments. I can't outro, so see you later. Bye. Jeez, I suck at outros.